What's up, beer seekers? We are here reviewing Anonymous Brewing Company's beer that they distributed to us earlier. It's Nick and Brandon and Steve here talking about it. Check out Anonymous Brewing if you can online, anonbrew.com. We did a story about them that we just published today. We've put them up on Instagram and on social media. Cool brewing company. They don't have a tap room just yet, but they're developing, they're trying to get bigger. They're distributing to some places in Massachusetts. So check them out if you can, and find these beers if you can. But we're talking about the ones that they've distributed to us, which was 4 of them. And we're going to go over the Spin New England IPA, Tiffany New England IPA, Kings Hill Porter, and the Whaley Hazy Red Ale. So guys, I want to defer to you guys because you're the ones that tasted the beer. What was your favorite? Tell us about which ones you liked. Nick, if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. So I think we agreed here, but we both really liked the Spin. And we had a little hard time. I was doing some research before to try and find out exactly what it was because I liked it so much. But it's actually a spin or a twist on their Whaley. It's a New England IPA. It had a little bit of fruitiness, but not overpowering by any means, which sometimes I think you can get with a New England IPA. So it's really refreshing. We were drinking on a beautiful day, which definitely helped. But I know Steve loved it too. But I think that was definitely our favorite of the 4 we tried.
Yeah, for sure. Spin was great. It went down really smooth. It was perfect for we were, like you said, we were outside enjoying a nice spring day for once, and it was the perfect kind of beer for that setting, I thought. Just to have a few of those on a nice day. But I think consensus between us two and Tim, the Spin came out on top.
I mean, I know Anonymous Brewing, we've said in our write-up and online, they kind of do things like a little bit differently. They try and variate their brews based on some of the feedback that they get. Did Spin remind you kind of like a normal? Did it remind you of a New England IPA, or was it like a little bit different? Nick, you said it was a little fruity, but did it have other like taste to it, other flavors, anything like that?
Yeah, it had a, first of all, a hazy look to it, which is pretty typical. But it wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't as fruity and just had a nice bite, and you felt the hops, but it wasn't overpowering in hops where you can get a lot of times with IPAs. Some people don't like that. I personally do, but it was more of a clean, smooth finish.
I agree with that too. I was going to say the hoppiness wasn't overpowering. It wasn't the standout part of it. The smooth, the haziness came through. So good beer, but it wasn't too fruity either. That's another thing I'm always curious about.
Nice.
Good combo.
Cool. Well, you said it's a variation of their Whaley Hazy Red IPA. I know, Steve, that you kind of like that one. What about Whaley stood out to you? It's a really interesting beer because when you think about red ales in general, you don't necessarily think like, oh, this is a hazy, almost IPA kind of beer.
Yeah, and Whaley, I believe, is their flagship brew. I believe that was one of the first things
their signature, if you will.
Yeah, their signature. That's the word I should have used. But yes, I did like Whaley quite a bit, which is interesting. When I first saw it, I mean, red ale is not necessarily something I gravitate towards, but yeah, it went down nicely. It was a bit heavier feeling, like that malt kind of heaviness weighing it down as you go through the sip, but not necessarily a beer to drink too fast on a nice day outside, like we were saying with Spin. So I was limited to one on when we tried them, but yeah, it had a great reddish color to it too. I think that's always something about the red ales. Obviously, it's a red ale, but it had a nice look to it. Went down easy with that malt punch that it packed. But good beer.
What's interesting too is you don't really see like any brewers with a signature beer that's a red ale.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, most is like pale ale, pilsner, something like that.
Yeah.
In general, a red ale is like, oh, wow, that's kind of different. But a hazy red ale is like, okay, these guys are doing something pretty unique here.
Yeah. Yeah. And
for sure.
It's interesting to me that that Spin was a spin off Whaley because I I wouldn't have guessed that. If you had me try both of them, I wouldn't have said, oh yeah, this is similar, but here's a little difference I noticed.
Right.
I didn't notice that. So interesting. But two good beers. So
yeah, they're labeled totally different. I mean, red ale versus New England IPA, but like it's a variation of the same recipe. So pretty cool. Nick, what about you? Did you find one that you liked other than Spin?
Yeah, I did actually. So I think if I remember correctly, we had one full beer each. So we started with the Spin to the Whaley to the Tiffany and then finished off with Kings Hill. So it's kind of tough when you're doing that to really take it all in and think, all right, I really like this or like that. So I'm actually cheating a little bit and I have another Kings Hill in front of me. And
it's not cheating. That's called doing research.
Yeah. I'm doing extra research.
The way we probably should have done.
No, but I have very good things to say about this beer. So this is their porter. And one thing that really sticks out. So first of all, let me just say, it has a chocolate and caramel flavor to it. Caramel. I don't care how you say it. But
wasn't going to call you.
First of all, it's not overpowering and not super sweet. Where a lot of times with a porter, it can just be very, very chocolate forward and then really malty and kind of heavy on your tongue. This actually has, you can taste the carbonation and there's a hoppy kind of flavor and taste to it, which you don't always get with a porter. And personally, I love it. Makes it a little more drinkable. And I think it brings out the chocolate and caramel without overpowering everything. So it kind of cuts that sweetness with a little tart or bitterness. And I think it's a great, great porter to drink.
You know, I like that too. And you mentioned the carbonation, which is something that like when you think of a porter or a stout, you think more creamy, you think more like thick and just soft and like that mouthfeel. But like that hoppy profile is definitely different. I mean, some brewers have done something similar to that in the past, but like, yeah, the hoppy profile, very different, gives you that bite that you really want, kind of like adds to that flavor profile, which is interesting. And you wouldn't necessarily think hoppy goes with sweet and savory, right?
Exactly. And like you said, it's lighter than your typical porter, which I think is kind of refreshing. And frankly, I could drink a few of them. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I thoroughly enjoyed Kings Hill.
Cool. Would you guys have any other thoughts from your afternoon tasting Anonymous Brewing's beer?
Yeah, get a tap room because I want to go.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Just a shout out to them. I mean, those guys were great to work with. Obviously, Brandon, you did a write up with them that's on the website, BeerSighted.com. They were just great guys to work with, and they have an interesting operation. So everybody should check out Brandon's blog.
Yeah. Thanks for the plug. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, really. Check out Anonymous Brewing online and get your beers if you can. They distribute to a lot of places like right around Boston, Central Massachusetts, North and South Shore. So check them out again online. Check out our website, BeerSighted.com, for their blog and a lot of our other content as well. You can find us on social media at BeerSighted Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Find us on Facebook, BeerSighted. And cheers. Talk to you guys soon.
Cheers, beer seekers.